Hey guys, we have a really exciting series coming up for you. I have a special guest on this channel. Sterling Cooper is here with me to talk about your bedroom most asked question. So Sterling, why don't you introduce yourself to my audience so they get to know you a little bit more, because you've got a lot of great things to share.
For those of you who don't recognize me, my name is Sterling Cooper. I'm an award-winning adult film star. I'm also a former high-class male companion, and these days I dance around on YouTube and give guys sex advice, basically help them to please their partners in the bedroom more frequently.
It's going to be sexy. It's going to be juicy. We are not holding back, so stay tuned and tune in every week for this very special series.
Okay, guys, in today's video, we are going to compare some notes on the best sex positions to get your partner off. The best sex positions for his and her pleasure from man and a woman's perspective. Celine, I'm very curious. I've got my top two, my all-stars, my Hall of Fame positions that I always go to, my go-to guys. I want to hear your perspective on the positions that you personally think are the most enjoyable for women and for men.
Let's start with understanding of anatomy. Is we are all different. So there's not going to be a position that works for everyone. It's also how do your genitals fit together. So depending on the size of his penis and the size of her vagina, like there are going to be things that work better. So just because it works really well on your ex-girlfriend doesn't mean it's going to work really well on this one, right? So understand that from the start. Also understand that we women, if she's still going through her menstrual cycle, we go through changes that our cervix goes higher and lower depending on how fertile we are. That means that when the cervix is higher inside the vaginal canal, she can take a deeper penetration and more pounding in different position than if her cervix is lower, which means that your penis would reach it faster, and she might not want like a really deep position like a doggy style at that point. So you've got to understand her cycle, where she's at, and understand your anatomy and her anatomy. Now I'll tell you my favorite positions and we'll see if they're yours too, the ones you thought. And you know what I've noticed is it changes over time. I really like being on top because it gives me total freedom. I can ride him, I can move my hips, I can access my own clitoris, and I don't have his weight so much on me, so I feel very free with that. And I can move down towards him and hug him and have this beautiful like heart-to-heart connection, or I can arch back and that reaches deeper and allows me to have different sensations. Plus there's a whole thing of like, you know, going around the cock, right, and just going all around in different angles when I'm on top. So it's a pretty versatile position that I rather enjoy.
All right, I like that. I'm going to agree with you on that one, because that's one of my go-tos for like getting, if I want to get a woman off, I will put her in cowgirl position like that, like you said, and I'll do two things specifically, really specific. And this probably play, like you said, how, you know, guy and girl parts have to sort of fit and match because everyone's anatomy is a little bit different. This, for me, this works really well for me because my penis points upward when it's erect, right? So I've got an upward point. It doesn't point straight out; it points up, right? So for guys who have a you know, an erection that points up, this will play in your favor. When she's in cowgirl, rather than, there's two things I'll tell her to do. One, I'll tell her to actually kind of lean back a little bit, right? Put her hands on my legs and maybe lean back at an, you know, so rather than her sitting up straight like that, she's sitting back at an angle, slightly like that, right? The second thing I'll do is I'll grab onto her thighs, and rather than having her doing an up and down motion, I'm going to do a forwards and backwards motion. I'm controlling her. I'm holding onto her thighs like that, and I'm doing this in a pretty vigorous fashion while she's sort of leaned back like that. Kind of
so like you're tapping from the bottom.
Yeah, basically.
And that's the key too, because while she's on top and can think she's in charge, really you're still the one topping from the bottom.
Yeah, I'm always in charge. We're doing this, but the analogy is like, imagine you're panning for gold, gentlemen. So this is kind of like the hand motion, like you're panning for gold. Okay, so you've got your hands on their thighs and you're doing this back and forth thing, and because the way this works, the anatomy, right? So she's like leaning back, and because of that, it creates the head of my penis is going to be slamming into her G spot basically again and again and again, like that, quite vigorously, quite repeatedly, quite quickly. So you can within a few minutes this just takes a bit of forearm strength. I'm not going to lie. You can't be lazy with this. There's actually to actually get a woman off with a penetrative orgasm like that, you're going to need a bit of force. And this is, again, topping from the bottom. It's kind of an overwhelming experience for her. You can get her on top, let her have some fun, let her think she's in control for a few minutes, and then you can go panning for gold, and you can really deliver a pretty quick orgasm if you get your angles right, and you do it with enough force and speed that she doesn't really sort of see it. She doesn't have time to get in her head. You don't have time to get in her head and be like, it's like overwhelming, like sensation. Bang, you get her. That's my number one. I've got a couple more up my sleeve though, so I want to hear more of your opinions.
Okay, my other top position would be doggy style. Doggy style is so primal and can make me foam. It's like so. Like you can really let go in that position, but I'm not in the mood for it at all times. But I would say that doggy style is a really pleasurable. Also, again, you have access to your clit. It's kind of a sure thing to have really strong orgasms, and it doesn't have to be totally wild and pounding. There's even like a gentle like doggy style. Like you don't have to have it. But I think also doggy style is a really good one for men's pleasure because it's so primal. It's so like raw, and you can grab her ass and do her. You have a fucking awesome view, and you can, like, if she's open, you can really pound her, and it's so animalistic. Like it's all of that like prime urges that can be freed through that position, and I think it works really well both for the male and for the female.
I agree. I make one little adjustment to doggy style, and you can kind of call it like a lazy doggy. Some people call it froggy style or prone bone. And what I like to do is, rather than having her like on her hands and knees, have her lay flat on her stomach like that and penetrate that way. Like effectively still the same kind of doggy style position, but there's a little adjustment that women can make that makes it feel amazing for the guy. And it's this. So she's laying flat like that, and you're penetrating in her, the same way you would doggy style, right? But she's laying flat. Enter her, and then, gentlemen, get her to cross her legs over. Get her to cross her heels over. It'll make the vagina feel so much tighter for both you and her. You'll both notice it like immediately. Just get her to cross her legs over like that after you're inside of her. You'll notice it immediately. And that is I agree. That's a really good position to get. You can do that slowly and passionately, or you can do it more rough and, like you said, animalistically. You can do so much in that position too. You can whisper in her ear, you can pull her hair, you can bite the nape of her neck, or you can you can spank
her butt.
So many different things and like elements you can play around with in that one position, which makes it really effective and enjoyable for both the guy and the girl, in my opinion.
She can also reach his balls. And so one of the things, like what I like is kind of halfway, so my chest is down and then I stick my butt up, so it's kind of an in-between. It works really well for me for my angle and how it works. But at the same time, I can totally relax because I'm not having my weight on my arms. It's all kind of on my chest, and I can like have my head on the pillow if I'm screaming or if I want to relax. But then with the other hand, you can reach down in between and you can massage his balls, or even like if your arms is long enough, you can kind of like be around his anus, like just add some sensations there, and that's sometimes unexpected and oftentimes very welcome.
Yeah, the surprise element of that is like when a woman does that of her own accord, and she's surprised, like, damn, that came out. You got me. You came
Uh-huh.
out of nowhere, and that's like I am all about the testicle stimulation. I 100% agree that like you have to get your hips up a little bit so you can get your hand under there.
Yes.
But that little bit of stimulation while a guy is like going away at that, it's like. If a woman, I normally will tell a woman to do that, but if she does that of her own accord, I'm like, you've been watching Celine's channel.
Yes, we're doing a good thing. We are like changing the world one cock at a time.
I'm going to add in a bonus, an extra bonus position here, which I think help really is a slight adjustment to missionary position that most people can make, which again tends to lead to a more successful, tends to, in my experience, get vaginal orgasms more successfully. And it's as simple as sliding a couple of pillows under her pelvis, getting her hips up like that, because it changes the angle of penetration. Because rather than you're penetrating like this, normally if she's laying down flat, once that pillow is raising her hips up like at an angle like that, now I'm penetrating like this and I'm actually hitting the G-spot. Much more
especially because you're pointing up. And so that works really well with that. Or you can have her put her legs over your shoulder too, and that kind of, but she has to be a little bit more flexible for that to happen, but that creates the same thing. It could be one leg or both legs. And that again creates that really nice angle where as a woman, for me, it doesn't really hit the cervix, like it doesn't hurt, but yet you can use a lot of force with it, because there are some positions sometimes where it's a little too deep too quickly, where you tense up. But with the pelvis angle that's slightly different, you usually don't hit the wall, and so you can go like for longer.
You can get a bit more into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's something that I think a lot of guys don't realize. If they can, if maybe they're genetically gifted, they've got a kind of a longer appendage, or maybe they just get the angles right, you can actually there's a small subset of women who do like having their cervix kind of like stimulated, like hit with the penis like that. But in my experience, it's a small subset. Like you said, for most women, it's kind of a more painful experience to hit the cervix like that. So that being aware of your angles is kind of important. That's the game you're playing really as a guy. If you're aware of, okay, which way does my penis point?
Mm-hmm.
Now I know that, and I know the aim is to sort of kind of hit the G-spot as best I can. Then we can start to play around with the different angles that we're using, and I know if it's gonna be effective or not.
Yeah. With the cervix, it's the cervix hates to be banged as the first thing. The cervix likes to be slowly teased. And what the cervix likes is not so much a thrusting of in and out, it's more of a circles. It's more of a like kind of circling, going around, slowly opening it. And then she can get to that place where she's like, bang me and can't get enough. But if you go straight to banging it, again, it will close down. And if it gets hurt, then she won't want it. There's something that happens. So we have to tease it. You have to approach it. You have to do circles, gyration, so her using her hips or him using his hips if he's on top and can do like hip circles. That's going to work to help the cervix to feel safe, really. Ultimately, it's kind of like all about feeling that place of like, it's the heart point in that reflexology within the vagina. So it's kind of like until she feels like so totally safe and that she can fully open and her heart is in there, and then it can happen.
All right, so don't scare the cervix, gentlemen.
No, don't. I think this would be like really, I love a good missionary too. I really do. And I think people are just blasé about it, or they're like, oh, it's not like, I don't know why people are like, oh, it's like kind of the boring one. But like, honestly, if you know what you're doing and you know how to use your hips and you have a good tempo and, you can look into your partner's eyes, it's a great position.
Yeah, you can make missionary really intense and passionate if you know what you're doing. Like you can whisper, you can stare her in the eyes, you can pull her hair from that position. If she's into being choked, you can apply some like pressure around the throat. There's a lot of different things. You can play with the nipples. Like there's a lot. You can play with the clitoris as well. There's a whole bunch of things, different things you can do. It's not just I'm just like
plain old boring
and blanket laying on top of her. There's a lot more, and that's another thing I'll say. It kind of makes it more passionate and more. I think it makes it more intense if there's space between you, rather than as a dude you're being lazy, just laying on top of her. Create that space, hold yourself up with your hands,
Of course.
so you can make that eye contact during that missionary position. That makes it a lot more passionate and a lot more intimate.
You know, one thing we haven't talked about, a lot of guys are pointing sideways. A lot of penises are like that. I do find that side positions work really well with sideways pointing penises. And so you could do like a kind of rear sideway, like little spoon, big spoon. So she's little spoon and he's big spoon. That works really well with guys who have either a bigger penis, and that way he can go deeper, but it's not hurting her. He's not bottoming really. And then if he goes sideways, if his penis is sideways and you're in the right position, it actually can hit her G-spot as well from that angle.
There you go, gentlemen. If you happen to be genetically blessed, that is your cheat code right there.
But you know, I think also one thing is, I don't think there's like one position that works all the time. I've seen this too, even with in my own relationship. Like for several years, I was like all about one position, and then I kind of maybe got used to it or something, and now it's a different one. And then you go through phases and you come back to it. So go also with the flow. And honestly, if you want more sex, give her the kind she likes. Listen to what she wants. Give her the position she wants, and you'll get more sex.
Yep. Pay attention to that, lads.
Thanks for watching today's video. We hope you had fun and now put all of this into practice. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out Sterling's YouTube channel as well. And while you're at it, watch a few more videos.